Society whispers that your best days are behind you, that each passing year subtracts from your worth, that wrinkles are failures and gray hair signals defeat. You've absorbed these toxic messages so deeply that you might find yourself apologizing for aging, hiding your years, fighting what should be celebrated. But what if everything you've been told about aging is not just wrong, but backwards? What if the lines on your face are actually hieroglyphs of wisdom? And what if your slowing step is an invitation to a deeper dance with life? Today, we'll explore 6 Buddhist lessons that will completely revolutionize how you see the aging process, transforming it from something to fear into humanity's most sacred journey toward enlightenment. The first lesson shatters the illusion that aging means deterioration. In the high mountain monastery where I spent years learning from teachers whose faces carried 8 decades of earthly experience, I witnessed something that challenged every assumption our culture makes about growing older. While their bodies showed the natural signs of time's passage, their inner radiance seemed to increase with each passing season, as if they were becoming more themselves rather than less. Buddhism teaches us about anicca, the impermanence that governs all physical forms. Your body changes, yes, but this isn't decay, it's transformation. Think of how a caterpillar must dissolve completely to become a butterfly. The caterpillar doesn't see its dissolution as failure, it's the necessary process for wings to emerge. Your changing body is similar. Each cellular transformation is preparing you for a kind of flight that youth could never achieve. I remember one ancient teacher whose hands shook with age, but whose calligraphy had never been more beautiful. When I asked him about this paradox, he smiled and said, "My hands have learned to dance with uncertainty. What you call shaking, I call freedom from the rigid perfection that once limited my art." Your aging isn't making you less capable, it's teaching you new forms of grace that only come through years of accumulated wisdom. When you notice changes in your body, instead of mourning what was, try this practice. Place your hands on the changing part and whisper with genuine gratitude, "Thank you for carrying me this far. I honor what you're becoming." Your body isn't betraying you, it's graduating into a more refined instrument of consciousness. But this physical transformation is just the beginning of something far more profound. The second lesson reveals that what we call memory loss might actually be memory refinement. Our culture panics at the first forgotten name or misplaced keys, seeing these as signs of mental decline. But Buddhist psychology suggests something entirely different is happening. After decades of accumulating countless trivial details, your mind is finally becoming selective, keeping what truly matters and releasing what never did. Think of your mind like a vast library that has been collecting books for 70 or 80 years. Eventually, a wise librarian begins curating the collection, keeping the profound texts and letting go of the outdated newspapers and shallow magazines. This isn't loss, it's the emergence of discernment. You might forget where you put your glasses, but you remember with crystal clarity the feeling of holding your newborn child, the exact words your grandmother spoke that changed your life, the moment you first understood what love really meant. In the monastery we have a saying, "The mind that remembers everything understands nothing. The mind that remembers what matters understands everything." Your apparent forgetfulness might be your consciousness finally learning to distinguish between information and wisdom, between the temporary and the eternal. When you can't recall some mundane detail, instead of panicking, try saying, "My mind is making space for what truly matters." This isn't denial, it's recognizing that your consciousness is evolving toward clarity rather than mere retention. But there's an even more beautiful transformation happening in your emotional landscape. The third lesson illuminates how emotional regulation actually improves with age, contrary to stereotypes about grumpy old people. Research confirms what Buddhism has long taught. Older adults experience more positive emotions and fewer negative ones than younger people. This isn't because life becomes easier, it's because you've finally learned the art of emotional alchemy. You've discovered that you don't have to be hijacked by every feeling that arises. After decades of experiencing the full spectrum of human emotions, You've developed what Buddhists call upekkha, equanimity. You've learned that anger burns out, sadness passes like weather, and joy returns if you don't grasp for it desperately. This emotional wisdom can't be taught in books or learned in workshops. It only comes from having felt everything deeply and survived it all with your heart intact. I watched an elderly woman in our community receive news that would have devastated her younger self. Instead of collapsing into drama or bitterness, she breathed deeply, felt the pain completely, then said, "This too shall pass, and I will love what remains." This isn't emotional numbness, it's emotional mastery. You've learned to ride the waves of feeling rather than being crushed by them. Practice this emotional wisdom. When strong feelings arise, instead of fighting or drowning in them, welcome them like old friends visiting. Say, "Hello anger, hello sadness, I know you, and I know you will pass through me without leaving permanent damage." Your emotional landscape isn't becoming barren, it's becoming skillfully tended by a master gardener. Yet perhaps the most profound shift happens in your relationship with time itself. The fourth lesson transforms your relationship with time from enemy to ally. Young people experience time as infinite and therefore waste it carelessly. But as you age and become aware of time's finite nature, each moment becomes precious, each experience more vivid, each relationship more meaningful. This isn't about becoming morbid about death, it's about becoming vitally alive because you finally understand the value of now. Buddhism teaches that awareness of impermanence is the greatest spiritual teacher. When you truly know that your days are numbered, you stop postponing love, stop delaying forgiveness, stop waiting for someday to live fully. The urgency that comes with age isn't frantic anxiety, it's focused intention. You begin saying yes to what feeds your soul and no to what drains your spirit. I remember visiting a 90-year-old poet whose every word seemed to shimmer with significance. When I asked about his secret, he replied, "When you know you have maybe 10 more sunrises to witness, you don't waste any of them sleeping through dawn. When you might share only a handful more conversations with someone you love, you don't fill them with small talk about weather." This consciousness of time's preciousness doesn't create fear, it creates intensity, presence, and profound appreciation for what is. Practice living with this awareness. Each morning, remind yourself that this day will never come again. Ask yourself, how do I want to spend these irreplaceable hours? This isn't about productivity or achievement, it's about presence, connection, and savoring the unrepeatable gift of this exact moment. But there's something even more beautiful happening to your capacity for wisdom. The fifth lesson reveals that true wisdom only emerges in life's later chapters, when you've accumulated enough experiences to recognize life's deeper patterns. Young people have information, older people have understanding. You've lived through enough cycles of loss and renewal, enough seasons of joy and sorrow, enough examples of how things that seemed terrible became blessings, and how apparent successes sometimes led to greater failures. This gives you something invaluable: perspective. Buddhism speaks of prajna, wisdom that comes not from studying texts, but from studying life itself with conscious attention. You've become a master researcher in the laboratory of human existence. You've seen how attachment creates suffering, how acceptance brings peace, how love is the only investment that always pays dividends. This wisdom can't be Googled or downloaded. It can only be lived into through decades of paying attention. Your ability to comfort someone in crisis comes from having navigated your own dark nights. Your capacity to celebrate others' joy without envy emerges from understanding that there's enough happiness to go around. Your skill at knowing when to speak and when to remain silent develops from years of saying the wrong thing at the wrong time and finally learning better. This wisdom isn't theoretical, it's practical, embodied, tested by time and proven through experience. When young people seek your advice, don't dismiss your insights as obvious or outdated. Your perspective is precious precisely because it's been earned through living, not learned from books. Practice honoring your accumulated wisdom by sharing it generously when asked, trusting that your life experiences have created something valuable that only you can offer. But the final lesson reveals the most profound truth about aging. The sixth lesson unveils the ultimate secret. Aging is actually the soul's graduation into its highest potential. While the body follows natural laws of change and eventually dissolution, the consciousness that you truly are becomes more refined, more spacious, more connected to universal truth with each passing year. You are not your temporary physical form. You are the eternal awareness that has been witnessing life unfold through this body. Think of aging like a master sculptor, gradually revealing a masterpiece that was always hidden within the marble. Each year, more of your authentic self emerges as the non-essential falls away. The roles you thought defined you, parent, employee, spouse, while meaningful, were never your true identity. As these external identities shift or dissolve, what remains is pure consciousness, unlimited by any temporary form or function. In Buddhist understanding, this is why many people experience profound spiritual awakening in their later years. When the ego's desperate need for achievement, approval, and control finally exhausts itself, space opens for your essential nature to shine through. You stop trying so hard to be someone and relax into being yourself. This isn't giving up. It's arriving at what you were always seeking through all those years of striving. I've witnessed this transformation in countless elders, a letting go that isn't defeat but victory, a simplicity that isn't limitation but freedom, a slowing down that isn't decline but deepening. They've discovered that their worth was never dependent on what they could do, achieve, or contribute, but on the simple miracle of being aware, being present, being the loving consciousness that observes all of life's experiences with compassionate understanding. Practice recognizing your eternal nature. Sit quietly each day and ask yourself, what in me has remained unchanged through all these years of physical and circumstantial transformation? Connect with that unchanging awareness. That's who you really are, and it never ages, never diminishes, never dies. These 6 lessons work together to reveal aging, not as decline but as ascension, the soul's natural evolution toward its highest expression. You are not getting older, you are getting deeper, wiser, more essential, more yourself. Every line on your face is evidence of a life courageously lived. Every gray hair is a badge of wisdom earned through experience. Every slowing step is an invitation to savor rather than rush. The culture that tells you to hide your age, fight your wrinkles, and deny your years is trying to rob you of your greatest treasures. Your aging is not your enemy, it's your graduation ceremony into the fullness of what it means to be truly human. Wear your years like the honors they are, share your wisdom like the gift it is, and age with the fierce pride of someone who has lived fully and loved well. If these words have opened a new way of seeing your own aging journey, I invite you to like this video and share it with others who might need this perspective. Subscribe for more teachings that honor the sacred nature of every stage of life's unfolding. Your comments sharing your own discoveries about the gifts of aging might be exactly what someone needs to hear today to transform their fear into celebration.